was running late. The mining station's corridors were narrow, cold, and always smelled faintly of metal and ozone. His boots clanged against the metal floor as he carried a crate of energy cells, the corners scraping painfully against his hands. He hated being late. The supervisor's voice still rang in his ears. "If you're late again, don't expect easy shifts." He turned the corner too fast, and that was when it happened. She appeared from the shadows like a ghost, tall, impossibly slender, with pale skin that glowed faintly under the station lights. Her hair was long, black, flowing, moving as if it had a life of its own. Her eyes could not describe the eyes. They were crimson like molten fire, staring into his soul. He froze, the crate slipping slightly in his hands. "Do you want to die, human?" she hissed, her voice low, dangerous, yet smooth like a velvet knife. His heart slammed against his chest. He tried to step back, but his foot caught on the crate and he stumbled forward. She moved with lightning speed, almost a blur, but instead of striking, she tilted her head, studying him. Every instinct told him to run, but he couldn't look away. I'm sorry," he stammered, the words sounding weak even to him. "I didn't mean." "Silence," she interrupted, her fangs glinting as she leaned slightly closer. The air around her was cold, almost freezing, but felt an odd pull, a strange curiosity that made him stay rooted in place. He wanted to run, but his legs refused. It was like staring at the edge of a cliff, terrifying and thrilling all at once. Her eyes narrowed. She circled him slowly, her movements elegant and predatory. Humans so fragile, so reckless. Her voice carried a hint of amusement, though her sharp teeth made him think twice before daring to smile. Tried to gather himself. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, I'm just delivering these." He gestured to the crate, his fingers trembled slightly. She stopped and crouched slightly, tilting her head. "Delivering? Do you even know what lives in these corridors? Creatures you could never imagine." Stomach knotted. He had heard rumors about alien species on the station, dangerous creatures, some that could strip a human to bones in seconds. He had never believed them fully until now. I don't," he began, but she interrupted him again, stepping closer, her presence overpowering. "You humans always underestimate the unknown. You walk without caution, you stumble into danger, and you call it bravery." Something inside flared, not fear, but defiance. "Maybe we do," he said quietly, almost to himself. "But sometimes it's the humans who survive when others fall." Her eyes flickered, a small spark of surprise in the crimson glow. She paused, studying him more carefully now. "Survive?" she asked, almost mockingly. You will not survive long, not without careful thought, not without power you cannot comprehend." Swallowed hard, but he didn't step back. "Maybe, but I'll try." There was silence then. The hum of the station's systems, the distant clanging of machinery, and the faint hiss of escaping steam filled the corridor. She tilted her head again, her long hair drifting around her like shadows. For a long moment they just looked at each other, felt a strange mix of fear, awe, and something else he couldn't name. Respect, curiosity, perhaps both. The alien vampire, if that's what she was terrifying, beautiful, and impossible. Finally, she took a step back, straightening her posture. "Perhaps there is something different about you," she said softly, almost a whisper. "Something that might survive." His chest heaved. He didn't know if she was threatening him or acknowledging him. All he knew was that the line between life and death had never felt thinner, and that the rest of the station, and perhaps the universe, had just grown infinitely more dangerous. And yet, despite the fear, he felt alive. Hands were still trembling when he tried to steady the crate. His mind was spinning with questions. Who or what was she, and why hadn't she just attacked him? The alien vampire didn't answer. Instead, she moved with silent grace, stepping just ahead of him as they walked through the station's dim corridors. Every step echoed, every shadow seemed to flicker unnaturally. She led him to a small maintenance hatch off the main hallway. "You shouldn't be here, human," she said, her voice soft but sharp, slicing through the silence. "This part of the station, it is not meant for your kind. You draw attention, and some creatures do not make mistakes." "Swallowed creatures?" he asked, trying to sound braver than he felt. "You mean like predators?" She glanced at him, her crimson eyes narrowing. "Predators, Perhaps, or something worse, things you cannot imagine. They hunt for more than flesh, they hunt for fear, for weakness. And you are too curious to survive unprepared. Stomach tightened. The stories he'd heard as a kid about humans getting trapped in alien territories came back. Most ended badly, but she wasn't moving away, she wasn't hunting him. She was warning him. That thought made his heart pound with confusion and relief at the same time. Why are you helping me?" he asked cautiously, curiosity creeping over his fear. Didn't answer immediately. She leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching him with a gaze that felt both protective and assessing. "Because you are different. Most humans run or they fight blindly. You hesitate, you observe, you think. That may give you a chance, perhaps even a small chance to survive." Looked down at his hands, shaking slightly. He never thought his human instincts, hesitation, careful thought, observation, would be noticed or appreciated by anyone, let alone a vampire alien. Yet here she was, acknowledging it. I don't know if I can survive this place," he admitted quietly. "I wasn't trained for whatever is here." "Then you will learn quickly," she said, her voice losing a little of its edge, almost softening. "I cannot teach you everything. You must rely on what is human within you, courage, cleverness, persistence. That is your strength. That is what sets you apart." Felt a flicker of pride. Perhaps, despite everything, humans had something that even creatures like her could respect. Something that made them more than fragile, more than expendable. The station shook suddenly, a low rumble vibrating under their feet. Red warning lights flashed and an alarm blared in the distance. Eyes flared. She grabbed his arm, her grip icy but firm. "They know you are here. Move now." Panic surged through, but's presence, her confidence, steadied him. He realized she wasn't just protecting him physically. She was teaching him to keep calm, to think, to act. They ran together through a maze of maintenance shafts, avoiding security patrols and strange, alien shapes that moved just beyond the light. His mind raced with every step. Where could he hide? How could he survive? How had he ended up here, in the middle of a life-or-death situation, depending on an alien vampire to keep him alive? Finally, they reached a small storage room, shoved a heavy crate against the door and motioned for him to stay low. The corridor outside echoed with heavy footsteps. Creatures, soldiers, or both, didn't know. He only knew that death could be waiting behind every corner. "You must understand one thing, human," said quietly, crouching beside him. "This station is not yours. Survival will require more than speed or luck. You must be smart. You must trust instincts you didn't even know you had. Do you understand?" Nodded, his chest tight, his palms sweaty. "I understand," he said, though fear still throbbed through him. "I'll do whatever it takes." She studied him for a long moment, then finally gave a short, approving nod. "Good. That is rare. Most humans falter too soon. You may yet last longer than you believe." For the first time since the collision, felt a strange sense of purpose. The fear was still there, gnawing at him, but beneath it was determination. He had survived so far not just because of luck, but because of the human heart inside him. And now, he would need every ounce of it to survive what came next. The corridors of the station seemed endless. His chest burned from running, his legs heavy, but he didn't dare stop. Behind him, moved like a shadow, silent, precise, yet always close enough that he felt her presence like a shield. "The creatures are fast," she said without turning her head. Her crimson eyes glimmered in the dim lights. "And relentless. If you falter for even a second, you will not survive." His heart pounded. He had never faced danger like this before. On Earth, danger came with warnings, with rules. Here in the alien station, it was unpredictable, raw, and terrifying. Yet despite the fear, he noticed something strange. He wasn't panicking. Every instinct inside him was sharp, honed by fear, by adrenaline. He was human, and humans survived in ways others could not. A low hiss echoed down the hallway. Froze. From the shadows, a patrol emerged, tall, armored, with glowing eyes that scanned the corridor like predator sensors. One glance at, and they moved, fast and deadly. "Go," hissed. She lunged at the patrol, moving with impossible speed. She struck one down before it even realized she was there. Stumbled back, eyes wide, feeling a mix of awe and terror. He had never seen anything like her. Her strength, her speed, her precision. It was terrifying, beautiful, and unstoppable. But there was no time to stare. More were coming. Ran, ducking into a side passage, his mind racing. He realized with a shiver that was not only keeping him alive, she was teaching him. Her actions showed him how to move, where to hide, when to strike or retreat. He glanced back, had moved ahead, engaging the patrols, striking them down silently but efficiently. She never looked at him as prey, she looked at him as something to protect. Felt a strange warmth despite the cold terror of the station. The patrols closed in. His breathing was loud in the silence of the side corridors. He remembered what she had said about instincts, about human courage. He had no weapons, no armor, just his wits. He ducked behind a maintenance panel, holding his breath as two creatures passed within arm's reach. Reappeared beside him, her eyes scanning the shadows. "You are learning," she said almost approvingly. "You do not freeze, you adapt. That is rare among humans." Swallowed, I'm trying," he said, voice shaking but determined. "I want to survive." She gave a short, almost imperceptible nod. "Good, because what comes next will test you in ways you cannot yet imagine." Suddenly the floor beneath them trembled. Sparks flew from exposed wires. The station groaned, metal twisting, alarms screaming. Another patrol emerged, faster, larger, with claws glinting under the red emergency lights. Froze for just a moment, but then he moved. He remembered the narrow maintenance shafts, the small gaps in the floor panels. With covering him, he ran, leaping into a side hatch just before the creatures reached them. Followed, landing gracefully, almost floating. She didn't speak. She only moved, protecting him, clearing the path, a deadly guardian in crimson eyes. Crouched, heart hammering, feeling sweat sting his eyes. "Why are you helping me so much?" he asked quietly, almost to himself. Her gaze softened for a fraction of a second. "Because you are different, because humans sometimes have something even I cannot understand. Strength that is not measured in speed or fangs, but in courage, in heart. You remind me of what is worth protecting." His chest tightened. Her words, her protection, her belief in him. It was overwhelming. He realized then that survival wasn't just about running or hiding. It was about trust, determination, and refusing to give up even when everything seemed impossible. The alarm blared louder. The station shuddered again, but despite the fear, felt a spark of hope. He was alive, he was human, and by his side, he might just survive this nightmare, and finally found a moment of calm in one of the station's abandoned storage rooms. The hum of machinery was distant here, and the emergency lights flickered softly. Sank against a wall, breathing hard, his body trembling from the chase. Crouched nearby, her crimson eyes glowing faintly, alert for any threat. For the first time, allowed himself to look at her properly. She was beautiful in a terrifying, alien way. Her pale skin reflected the dim light, her hair fell around her shoulders like liquid darkness, and her eyes, they were not just predators' eyes. They held centuries of experience, loneliness, and perhaps something he couldn't name yet. "Why are you here?" asked quietly, breaking the silence. "Why not just leave me?" Tilted her head, studying him. "Because you are human, you are fragile yet stubborn. Most humans run blindly, some fight without thinking. You hesitate, you observe, you calculate. That is rare." Nodded slowly. "I guess I've always tried to think before acting, even when it's hard." She moved closer, crouching to his level. "And that is why you are alive. Most humans would be dead by now. You have instincts, courage, and a mind that doesn't yield to fear easily. That is what makes you interesting." Felt heat rush to his face. Interesting? From her? He had never been called that by anyone, let alone a creature who could end his life with a single strike. Yet beneath the fear, a strange warmth grew in his chest. "Do you trust me?" she asked after a long pause, her voice softer now. Hesitated, trust was hard. He had been taught humans survive by relying on themselves. But looking at her, seeing the precision and care with which she protected him, he realized he had no choice. I do," he said finally. Her lips curved slightly, almost a smile. "Good, because you will need to. We are not safe yet. There are others, things that will not hesitate to destroy you or me." Stomach tightened. The thought of losing her, this alien vampire who had become his protector, his guide, was frightening. He had never felt this way about anyone, but he couldn't dwell on it. Survival came first. They spent the next hour navigating through maintenance shafts. each step measured, each corner scouted carefully. Moved like a shadow, silently clearing the path while followed, learning from her movements. He noticed small things, how she listened for distant sounds, how she calculated the fastest escape routes, how she used shadows to remain unseen. "You are learning quickly," said her voice quiet but approving. "Most humans would be exhausted, panicked, or foolishly trying to fight. You adapt. That is why you may last longer than anyone expects." His heart swelled with a strange pride. He had never thought of himself as remarkable, just ordinary. But in her eyes, his survival, his courage, his determination were extraordinary. Humans weren't the strongest or the fastest or the most powerful, but perhaps they had something she had forgotten: persistence, heart, and defiance. As they paused near an airlock to catch their breath, looked at, "Why do you protect me so much?" he asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. Didn't answer immediately. She looked at the flashing lights outside the airlock window, her face unreadable. Then she said, almost in a whisper, "Because you remind me that life is worth protecting. That courage can exist even in the smallest of beings, that humans may have something even I cannot replicate." Felt something shift inside him. Her words, her presence, her silent respect, it was powerful. He realized that he wasn't just being protected, he was being seen, truly seen. For a long moment they remained in silence, the air thick with unspoken understanding. Two beings from completely different worlds, bound together by circumstance, danger, and now mutual recognition. Knew the station was still crawling with threats. He knew the next moments could be more dangerous than anything they had faced. But for the first time, fear was accompanied by something else: trust, hope, and the sense that he was not alone in the universe. His hand rested lightly on the wall beside him. It wasn't a touch, not really, but it was enough to remind him that in the vast, cold corridors of this station he had an ally. And in that moment felt something humans rarely felt in the face of true danger: courage mixed with connection, fear softened by trust, and a spark of determination that refused to die. The corridors of the station shook violently, throwing sparks from broken panels onto the floor. His heart raced. The sound of metal twisting and the distant growls of alien patrols filled the air. Moved ahead of him, eyes scanning every shadow, every corner, every flicker of movement. "Stay close," she warned, her voice low but sharp. "We are surrounded. One wrong move and it's over." He nodded, gripping the crate of energy cells tightly. Sweat stung his eyes, his chest burned, and fear throbbed in his veins. But there was determination, too. He had survived this long not by luck, but because he refused to give in. Suddenly, a patrol rounded the corner, larger than the others, with armored exoskeletons and claws that glinted in the emergency lights. Didn't hesitate. With a swift, fluid motion, she struck one down, her fangs gleaming and hands moving faster than could follow. But there were too many. "The terminal," she shouted. "You can override the security doors. It will trap them, but you must hurry." His mind raced. He didn't know if he could do it, but he didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward the terminal, the sounds of combat and crashing metal echoing behind him. His fingers flew over the controls, sweat making the keys slippery, his heart hammering as alarms blared louder. Suddenly, one of the larger patrols lunged at him, froze for a split second, enough for it to swipe at him. But before it could strike, slammed into the creature, throwing it back with brutal force. She landed in front of fangs bared, body tense, shielding him. Pain flashed across her face from the impact, but she didn't falter. "Now," she shouted. With shaking hands, completed the override. The station's doors clanged shut, sealing the patrols in the corridor behind them. The sound was deafening, the metal vibrating under his fingers, but the immediate danger was halted. He turned to, ready to thank her, but she was bleeding, a thin streak of crimson trailing from her side. Her eyes, still blazing red, locked onto his. "You did it. You survived, human," she said, voice strained but calm. His chest tightened. "No, I didn't do it alone. You saved me." Shook her head slightly. "We saved each other. But remember this: human, courage, and action, they are both necessary. Alone, neither of us would have lasted." Knelt beside her, his hands pressing against her side, trying to stop the bleeding. He had no idea if he could, but he couldn't let her die, not after everything she had done. His mind raced with fear, determination, and an odd warmth that he couldn't explain. She had trusted him, protected him, taught him, and now he would do the same for her. The alarms faded slightly as the immediate threat was contained. They were still in danger, still trapped in the station. But for a moment, there was silence. Only the hum of the emergency systems and the distant moans of the creatures remained. His hand brushed against his arm, light and almost imperceptible, but enough to anchor him. "You are strong," she whispered. "Stronger than I expected. Most humans would have frozen or run. You endured." Swallowed, emotion catching in his throat. He realized then that this moment, this danger, this connection was more than survival. It was trust, it was understanding. It was a bond forged in the fire of life and death. Humans might not be the fastest or the most powerful, but they had something respected deeply: heart, courage, and determination that refused to break. "Together," said quietly, his hand still on her side. "We'll survive together." For the first time, allowed herself a small, fleeting smile. "Perhaps together." Her voice was soft, almost human. The crimson glow in her eyes dimmed slightly, but only enough to show that beneath the predator there was recognition, respect, for the human who refused to yield. Realized that survival wasn't just about strength. It was about courage, connection, and the will to fight for something beyond oneself. And in that moment, he knew they were more than allies. They were bound by trust, by challenge, and by the undeniable spark of life that humans carried into the darkest places of the universe. The station was far from safe, the dangers far from gone, but it had proven something vital. Humans could endure. Humans could adapt. Humans could inspire even the most immortal and terrifying of beings. And that truth was powerful. Smoke curled through the corridors of the station, and the red emergency lights flickered like dying embers. The immediate danger had passed, but his heart was still racing, and every nerve in his body screamed for rest. He leaned against a wall, gasping for air, while crouched nearby, her crimson eyes scanning the shadows as always. "You're still alive," she said quietly, her voice softer than it had ever been. She didn't move closer, but the tension around her eased slightly. "I expected more casualties. Humans rarely last through encounters like this." Shook his head, breathing heavy. "I didn't last alone. You helped me. You protected me every step of the way." His gaze softened, though her eyes still glowed faintly in the dim light. "Perhaps, but you did not freeze. You did not run blindly. You survived because you were human. And humans," she paused, as if choosing her words carefully, "humans have a way of facing fear that is admirable, strange, terrifying, and sometimes inspiring." Felt heat rush to his face. Admiration from her? The thought was overwhelming, yet there was pride in it too. He had always thought of humans as fragile, easily broken, yet saw something different, something worth respecting. "I never thought I'd hear that from someone like you," admitted, voice small but firm. "But thank you for trusting me and for saving me." Allowed a small smile, fleeting and almost human. "I do not often trust or protect, but you are different. You think, you act, you endure. That is why you survived. That is why I allowed you to live. Not because you are strong, but because your spirit refuses to break." Realized then that it wasn't just survival that mattered. It was courage, determination, and heart. Strength came in many forms, and the human heart, fragile, stubborn, defiant, was one of the strongest had ever encountered. A distant alarm blared, reminding them that the station was still dangerous. But for a brief moment felt a strange calm. The creatures and patrols were gone from their immediate path. The threat was paused, and in that silence something deeper had shifted. "You should leave," said softly after a pause. "Go back to your world, your kind. I can handle the rest, or at least try." Tilted her head, crimson eyes meeting his. "Leave. After what we faced together, you survived because of your courage, human, and now I see something I have not seen in centuries: respect, and perhaps a spark of connection." Swallowed hard. He didn't fully understand what she meant, but he felt it too. A bond that went beyond words, beyond species, beyond survival. Two beings from different worlds, facing death together, learning to trust one another, and finding strength in what they each could not provide alone. "I respect you too," he said quietly, "and I won't forget this or you." His gaze lingered on him for a long moment. Then, without a word, she turned and moved into the shadows of the corridor. Her movements were fluid, almost unreal, but could feel her presence even as she faded from sight. He remained standing, chest heaving, adrenaline slowly subsiding. The station was far from safe, but something inside him had changed. Humans survived not because they were the strongest, but because they endured, adapted, and inspired even those who thought themselves immortal. Realize something crucial. Courage, heart, and determination could bridge worlds. Even a human could leave a mark on beings who were centuries older, far more powerful and terrifying. As he looked out through the observation window at the distant stars, he felt a spark of hope. Somewhere out there, watched, understood, and perhaps respected the human spirit in a way that few others ever would. For the first time, felt more than survival. He felt pride, connection, and a strange sense of victory, not over the creatures or the station, but over fear itself. Humans were fragile, yes, but they were also relentless, courageous, and capable of inspiring even the most alien and immortal hearts. And in that truth he found strength. The station was quiet now, though its corridors were with the evidence of recent chaos. Smoke drifted lazily from scorched panels, and emergency lights flickered faintly like dying stars. Moved slowly, each step deliberate, muscles still aching from adrenaline and exhaustion. Every instinct told him to stay alert. The danger wasn't gone, it had only receded. He paused at a wide observation window, staring out into the endless blackness of space. Stars glittered like distant fires, cold and beautiful. He thought of the alien vampire who had saved him again and again. She had moved through the shadows, protected him, taught him the strength of courage, and shown him a respect that few humans or aliens would ever receive. Didn't expect her to linger. She had always been a creature of the shadows, mysterious and terrifying, and yet, something about their shared struggle had created a bond. A bond that transcended fear, species, and the violent chaos of the station. A movement in the corner of his eye made him turn. Was there, barely visible in the flickering red light. She watched him, her posture relaxed but alert, her crimson eyes reflecting both fire and something softer, respect, perhaps even admiration. "You survived," she said quietly. No accusation, no threat, just a statement, a simple truth. Nodded. "I did because of you, and because I refused to give up. That's what humans do." Her eyes softened slightly. Yes, humans survive because they endure. They face fear they cannot understand. They make choices that creatures like me often overlook. You have proven that. For a long moment, neither spoke. The station hummed faintly, the air thick with the scent of smoke and metal. Felt a strange emptiness knowing that their time together was ending. Yet he also felt pride. He had faced creatures that could kill him instantly, navigated a station designed to trap and destroy, and survived, not alone, but through courage, determination, and heart. "Will I see you again?" he asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. Tilted her head, her long hair drifting slightly as she regarded him. "Perhaps, in another time, in another place. Or perhaps, you will remember the lessons and that will be enough. You have grown stronger, human. You have earned respect, even from me." His chest swelled, respect from her. It was more than he could have hoped for, more than he had imagined in a lifetime of ordinary struggles. "I won't forget you," he said firmly, "and I'll carry this with me always." She gave him a brief nod, almost imperceptible. Then silently she turned and melted into the shadows, disappearing into the station like a wraith. Watched her go, a strange mix of relief and longing settling over him. She had chosen to leave, yet her presence lingered, a reminder that even in the darkest, coldest corridors, courage and connection could survive. Stayed by the observation window for a long while, staring at the stars. He realized that survival wasn't about being the fastest, the strongest, or the cleverest. It was about enduring, trusting instincts, and having the courage to face the impossible. Humans were fragile, yes, but in that fragility lay strength. The strength to inspire, to endure, to survive, and sometimes to earn respect from beings who were centuries older and far more powerful. He felt something stir inside him, a spark of hope, of pride, and of determination. The universe was vast, dark, and full of unknown threats. But humans carried something unique: heart, courage, and the stubborn refusal to yield. and now had seen it reflected in the eyes of an immortal alien who could have ended his life at any moment. He smiled faintly. He was alive. He was human. And in that he had won far more than just survival. He had proven even to the universe itself that humans mattered, that their courage, defiance, and spirit could shine even in the shadows of the deadliest alien worlds. And somewhere out in the dark corridors of the station, watched from afar, not with hunger, not with malice, but with respect, she had seen a human heart, strong and unyielding, and she would not forget it. Turned back to the window, letting the stars fill him with hope. The station was silent now, but his spirit was loud. The human heart had survived, and that was enough.